All right, let's talk about Michael Thomas, a guy who, we've talked about a lot over the course of his career, but in past couple years, he really just hasn't been playing as much. If you look at his box score stats year in and year out, it's actually insane how dominant he was his first 4 years in the league. Again, keep in mind, this guy's just entering his seventh year, so he hasn't been in the league for that long. His first 4 years, though, were dominant. I mean, he was, maybe I think he was starting to build a Hall of Fame resume, especially with that 1,700 yards season. But with back-to-back disappointing years, riddled with injuries, it makes you wonder, kind of have we seen the last of dominant Michael Thomas? Where is he now as a player? Last season, he only played the first 3 games of the year before getting hurt and not playing for the rest of the season. So it does make you wonder, again, where is he at? But let's talk about what we saw from him in those early games, and maybe is there still those signs of that player still existing? Also, slight correction, it's actually 8 years in the league. The 2021 season is not listed on there because he didn't play at all that year. So actually, it's been hurt for 3 years, not 2. But yeah. Well, let's start off with this play, because I think this is kind of the quintessential Michael Thomas play in a sense of, again, what was the thing that was a knock on him before of his, all those injuries and everything. People called him, slant man. He's the guy who only wins slants. And, well, that's not really true. He's definitely not a, high yards per catch player. That's just not his game. He's more of a possession receiver who still wins on the outside, just in kind of a different way. At the end of the day, I've always kind of felt like, if you're moving the ball down the field, I don't care how you're doing it, whatever, method you use to get the ball down the field, okay, cool. Well, let's talk about this play, which they're already down the field. This is a, red zone situation where, when Michael Thomas is at his best, this is where he can certainly be lethal. You saw the stat sheet. He has 3 9-touchdown seasons in his career, and he had 3 touchdowns in just the 3 games he played last year, 2 in this specific game. Going in a one-on-one matchup right here on the outside, which is really where you want him to succeed, going one-on-one against A.J. Terrell, a very good corner, although he did not have his best year last year. One thing that makes Thomas so great when he's on is that first step at the line, and watch what he's going to do here. Watch that kind of fake to the right and then move towards the left. It doesn't seem like much, and it's not anything crazy. Again, Terrell right here has not given up a ton of separation, but what he has done, what Michael Thomas has done, is force Terrell in a spot where he can't really look back towards the ball too effectively. If he does, he really has to time it well. He's in a dilemma. Does Terrell turn his head towards the ball and hope that he times it well enough that then he can react and hit the ball, or does he just play the receiver? Well, he's going to decide to play the ball, actually. That's going to be his mindset right here. But look at how he goes a little bit early, so when he reaches up, he can't reach it. Michael Thomas is able to then make the grab. You might look at that and say, oh, well, Terrell just missed it, or it was a good catch from Thomas. But no, that play was actually won at that first step. At that beginning portion, that's when Thomas was able to win that play, and it was a very good job by Michael Thomas. And again, when he's at his best, these are the things he's capable of. He can also do stuff like this, where he's going to be, lined up as a slot receiver. It's really just a simple pick play right here. But again, this is kind of the value of Thomas. We've seen, I think, a lot of guys start to become more of that Michael Thomas type player, like a Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown, of sort of the guy who doesn't necessarily have to just go on the outside and run go routes to be an elite receiver. And watch what happens on this play, where again, his job is in the man coverage scheme that they're going up against to run towards the outside. You have another receiver who's going to just, hopefully get the corner who's covering Thomas a little bit out of position. As you see, it works. You get that little bit of space, and this is all that Thomas is going to need right here. This is going to be a good throw from Jameis Winston. Michael Thomas is able to make the grab, and they pick up a decent chunk play right there. So again, I mean, when we saw him on the field, he was being a definite contributor, I thought, throughout most of, when we saw him. The Atlanta game, probably his best game we've seen him in the past couple years play, just because, again, haven't seen him play that many games, but it was definitely very good. Like, this play is another example of just, like, it's just so difficult to cover someone like Michael Thomas. It really is, where, this play is going to once again be a one-on-one matchup on the outside against A.J. Terrell, trying to get touchdown number 2 of the day. So what he's going to do is, again, it's that first step. Watch how when this play begins, look at how, I mean, Thomas has barely even moved at this point in terms of distance covered, but he's completely gotten Terrell to get, much further to the inside so that Thomas has the outside leverage, and there's now a window. And Winston, I think, is going to, read this play very well. Watch as Jameis throws it to the back shoulder of Thomas, who's able to adjust nicely and be able to make the grab. So, again, these are really difficult routes to cover. And the fact that he was doing this just last year, I think is definitely something that can get you optimistic if you're a Saints fan of it's not the craziest thing in the world to expect that he could be back. Like, it's one of those things where if you get hurt once, people assume that you're going to be back to being the same player, again, the following year. But if you get hurt in multiple years in a row, then everyone assumes you're just not good anymore. Well, again, it's only been it's been 3 years. I mean, again, that's not nothing. I'm not saying it isn't. It's crazy. It's only been it's 3 years is still significant. But I don't know. Is it insane to think that he could get back to that 2019 form? I don't know if it's insane to say that. I really don't. Let's also head over to this play. So what's going to happen this is a crazy Jameis Winston play, but that's a little bit, different. But really what I want to show here is just his ball skills, of his ability to make a catch in a tight space, and it's not going to get much tighter than this. Watch how when this play begins, you see that Thomas, Carlton Davis has not given up a ton of separation, and there's help on the other side. You have a safety who can come in and try and make a play on the other side for Tampa Bay. So right here, there's, again, not sure why Jameis is making this throw, but granted, you say that a decent amount when you watch Jameis Winston play. That's just his play style. He's never seen a throw he can't make. Watch him fire it through that tight window, but watch Thomas be able to somehow, adjust and make the grab. And then look at Carlton Davis kind of slap Thomas after that. Don't know why he had to do that, but an interesting play nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, there definitely were some flashes of Michael Thomas. I thought that he showed more flashes of just being an effective player than that elite player, but we saw those signs of elite play as well, which does make you wonder, is it possible that Michael Thomas could do something? The way I kind of see it is listen, 3 years is a long time in NFL years. It is. I know it's not okay, it'd be different if it was, I don't know, maybe some other sport, but even other sports, I feel 3 years is a long time. It's not the craziest thing that could ever happen. We could see him coming back. That's not out of the question necessarily. But do I think that's going to happen? It's one of those things where if I'm building a team, I think taking a flyer on him, keeping him on the roster, signing him for another year just to see what happens is probably the smart move by the Saints. I think I would be a little bit concerned if I'm asking him to do a lot, if I'm, expecting for us to be competitive, for him to have a good year. I would have some concerns about that, I think. But do I think it's possible that he could be good? Yeah, I do think it's possible that he could be good. I wouldn't count it out necessarily. To me, it's a flyer situation. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.